All right, so Carrie's going to kick it off with a couple introductions.
Thank you, Dave. Hello and good morning or afternoon to everybody on the call. Thank you for joining us and welcome to today's webcast. My name is Carrie Lawson. I'm the Partner Marketing Representative here at Viewpoint. I've been with Viewpoint for about 8.5 years, and what really gets me excited is knowing that I'm able to help our customers like you understand who our various partners are and how their solutions could help your business be more successful. Today, Dave over at TopBuilder is going to discuss some best practices for sales and bid management. Now, this is a topic that has really been generating a lot of buzz, and the topic just keeps getting hotter each year. We also have a surprise guest that will share her success story about how having a CRM integrated with her ERP has improved her company's relationships with current and future customers. With TopBuilder being established in 2008, they've really risen to the occasion and done a fantastic job in creating a solid CRM solution. TopBuilder has been able to acquire over 5,500 users, ranging anywhere from sub or specialty contractors to general contractors, to land developers, and even residential builders, all across North America, making it so much easier for these construction companies to manage their projects, whether they have one or thousands of projects they work on each year. For the last 8 years, TopBuilder has been a strategic partner with us, and what that means is that we work very closely together to ensure the integration between Spectrum and TopBuilder CRM is tight and seamless. And I have to say, it's pretty easy to work with them due to how knowledgeable the employees are with CRMs and with the industry itself. So currently, 26 of our customers are integrating TopBuilder CRM with Spectrum, and what they have been provided is a construction-specific tool for marketing, bidding, and for securing more work. So without further delay, I'm pleased to pass the baton back over to Dave. Take her away, Dave.
No, thank you, Carrie. That was fabulous. I appreciate it. And yeah, we certainly appreciate our relationship we have with Viewpoint. They've been fantastic partners, wonderful to work with as well. I mean, you can tell just through the excitement that Carrie has in her voice how wonderful they are to work with. So I'll get into it real quickly with covering the agenda. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a quick poll question. The poll question is designed to try to help us kind of get a feel for where you are in terms of how engaged you are with these best practices so that we can tailor the presentation a little bit towards your level of understanding and your level of engagement. We're going to discuss the benefits of these best practices. You know, why is this stuff important? What do you expect to accomplish by implementing these best practices? It's pretty compelling when you think about it and you apply the numbers, and you'll see when I go through this how exciting it can be and what the possibilities are just through some simple, frankly, common sense things. We're also going to hear from Paige Porter, one of our joint customers. She's going to talk about her background and the background on MB Haynes, and also her goals and her accomplishments using the TopBuilder CRM for Spectrum and the Spectrum and the integration between the two. Then what we're going to do after that, we're going to dive into the best practices, you know, essentially the how. How are you going to accomplish those benefits? We're going to go through them pretty quickly. There's examples of each of these in the presentation. So as we discuss each one of these best practices, and there's about 14 of them, we'll show you the examples and we'll tell you little war stories as we go through them. You know, because we talk to our customers about this, and we all have our own little war stories about, you know, our pain points and the things that keep us awake at night, and we'll talk about some of that and how we solve those problems. And if we have time, we're going to do a high-level demo. I don't expect that we're going to have a lot of time for that, but if we do, I'll keep a close eye on our watch and make sure if we have time, we're going to run through the software. And then we'll wrap up with some QA and a slide with how you can get additional information. But again, you'll be getting an email and you can respond to that. All right, so let's start off. We're going to have a poll question. And again, this helps us understand, where are you at in this process of sales and bid management? So the poll question is open. Go ahead and fill in your answer and submit it, and then I'll tabulate the results. We'll give you about 1 minute. Okay, the results are coming in. This is kind of cool. Okay, give you about 30 more seconds. All right, so we have 13% on Excel. That's actually low. We usually see more than that. We have 33% using general CRM, and we see a lot of that as well. 11% on construction-specific CRM. That's a surprise. That's a surprise. We usually don't see any of those. 0% on internally developed software, and 44% saying you don't manage your leads and your bids, which is pretty much in line with what we typically see. So I'm going to take a screenshot of that really quickly. So I've got it. And now we will move on. Okay, well, thank you for that. I'm going to close the poll and move on to the next slide. Okay, so let's talk about why this stuff is important. Okay, we've got a few benefits here. First of all, one of the most important things we want you to do is we want you to get more business and more revenue from your existing opportunities. So convert more of your existing opportunities into awarded jobs by simply implementing a few common sense best practices. Increase your closure rates. And keep in mind, this is without spending any more money, or by just being organized and applying some very simple best practices. And if you look at an example, if you're a $120 million company, which is our guest speaker's company size, and you just increase your closure rates by 2%, you're getting $2.4 million in revenue, additional revenue, just by being organized and applying some best practices. And at the same time, you're going to be saving money, you're going to be more efficient, and you get other benefits as well. Now, the second benefit, or the second goal of these best practices, is to get more quality leads, more quality bid invitations, more quality opportunities from your existing customer base. Okay, so how you do that? We'll talk about that. A lot of our customers are using these best practices to convert traditional construction projects into opportunities for service and maintenance. That's one of the biggest benefits of this, and one of the better best practices that you can apply. But the point is applying these best practices, you're going to get more opportunities. And the key is you're not going to spend any more money. You may have to sign up for CRM. I'll give you that. But you're not going to spend any more money marketing. You're just going to capitalize on the opportunities and the data that you have already. Okay. So certainly this is going to help you save some money and some time. One of our customers, it's very hard to quantify these things. But one of our customers, just to provide one example, is saving 4 to 6 weeks across about 12 different project managers each quarter, collecting data, preparing reports, and doing forecasts. And she eliminated that 4 to 6 weeks of work every quarter with these 12 project managers by just having the data and having these best practices in place. And then she can just push a button and get the reports she needs. But then she also doesn't have to do it every quarter. She can do it anytime she wants, and she'll get the report she needs. And then you'll save time and money by streamlining and optimizing your bidding and proposal processes, Absolutely. And we'll show you how to do that. Now, other things that you'll want to make sure you pay attention to is making sure that your company assets, your data, your customer information, your bid opportunities is protected. We have story after story after story of folks that leave the company and they take their customer data, their bid data, their little internal process that they use for submitting bids, you know, because everybody had their own little way of doing things. They walk out the door and all that walks out with them. Okay. And that's a big deal. We've seen this happen, and they come to us and try to solve that problem moving forward. So we're going to show you how to take care of that. And again, we're going to make sure that you maximize your investment in marketing and that you reduce mistakes overall in your sales and bidding process. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of introduction of our guest, Paige Porter from MB Haynes. Paige is the business development and strategic planning consultant for MB Haynes. We've been working with her since 2016. She's awesome. A little bit about MB Haynes. They're a large multidiscipline general and specialty contractor. They do general contracting, industrial general contracting. They have an electrical division, an electrical utility group, I think, that services residential customers, a mechanical, plumbing, and technologies, and I also think they break things out into a solar division and things like that as well. And surprisingly, they've been in business since 1921. They've been on Spectrum since 2013. They've been a customer of TopBuilder CRM for Spectrum since 2016. And again, they do $120 million in revenue. They're employee-owned, 700 employees, 1,400 customers. And this goes back to the benefit of, you know, maximizing the customer base that they already have and the jobs that they're already doing, which is in 2017, 7,527 jobs. And as Paige is about to tell you, one of the biggest goals that they have is to take these 7,500 jobs that they do and convert those jobs into service contracts, service work. And again, they're getting a lot more revenue from that, a lot more income without spending a dime, okay? And also, you know, the service work and the maintenance work and the warranty work tends to be the higher margin work, and it tends to also be the less risky work because you're not having to really bid that out and take a risk that, you know, you'll be making money. Those are those types of jobs. So, Paige, I think you can hear me. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for inviting me to participate. I'm excited to share the story of how we engaged with TopBuilder and became a customer. So actually, MB Haynes was a customer of mine. I spent 25 plus years in sales leadership and have used other CRMs in the past. And I know the value of them and the importance and how it drives business and lets you track opportunities, all the, you know, traditional pain points that it alleviates. But when I came on to MB Haynes and started working with them, not as a service provider, but as an actual consultant, you know, 14,000 customers, 700 employees, actually there's 10 divisions, but 7 disciplines with sub-departments within that. And those customers were already established, but they weren't necessarily working with all the divisions. And the other thing was that MB Haynes did not want salespeople. And I figured out in about 8 hours why they didn't need salespeople, because it was difficult for them with all the discipline to manage their labor resources to accommodate sales opportunities. I mean, salespeople traditionally are out there drumming up business so that they can earn their highest income potential. And it's a matter of, hey, I brought this in, you get the work done. So my first task was to go to all of those divisions who had operated autonomously and figure out what common threads they had, who were their key accounts, who was on their wish list. So I created this ginormous Excel spreadsheet, which, you know, it's hard to action things off of an Excel spreadsheet and track them and make sure that, you know, all the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, you're updating things in little colored boxes. It just wasn't ideal. So we engaged in dialogue with TopBuilder and looked at the product, and I was able to see, the differences between the construction and the traditional CRM, and we've modified a few things on it to accommodate MB Haynes, but the tremendous benefit that it's given us is it's allowed us to see what opportunities are in our pipeline across all of those divisions and those sub-departments, and figure out where we can collaborate, where we can maximize revenue based on opportunities that have been introduced to us. Where should we invite our brethren to participate in a bidding process? Where do we have a stronger relationship with the customer in one division versus another division? And how do we maximize and retain that customer and build the loyalty that they have to us? So it's all encompassing. Plus, you have these project managers out there, they're working current projects, they're trying to keep up with prospective jobs that are coming into the pipeline, and your ERP is keeping up with things once it's awarded. But this was an opportunity to say, hey, what's out there? Where can we maximize our relationship? Where can we look for more revenue under that rock? And how do we retain those key customers? So it's able to help us with that. And then on top of that, centralized repository for all the documents and all the opportunities that we have. When you have 75 project managers out there, plus more than that, with information, their own filing system, they have proposals out on the street that are not in a centralized location. They might be riding around in their truck or in a desk drawer. If those people come to work every day and they communicate within their own department, yes, you can maximize that opportunity within that department. But are you really fully maximizing that opportunity? And then what if they leave? What is sitting out there in the marketplace, and what are customers still evaluating? What projects are on hold? What do we owe in terms of follow-up to secure that business? So it served as a centralized repository for documents, which was so needed. So we've automated our process. We have centralized where we keep the documents. We're able to look at these the moment that they're mentioned at a customer's location about doing an expansion or building a new facility. And then on top of that, which Dave touched on earlier, is how do we take those construction jobs, whether we're the installing contractor or the GC that works the project and maybe not using some of our other divisions for the subcontracting business. We have all of this data that we can convert those new construction customers or those projects or those actual locations into service customers for the long term. And that, that generates a whole pipeline of repeat business for new construction and continued revenue. And service is recession proof. Right now, when I came on board, MB Haynes had 5% of their total annual revenue came from service or work order business. In 2017, it went up to 9%. My goal, I think it should be a minimum of 20% of the total annual revenue should be coming from the service pipeline. So, and I mean, my stretch goal would be a lot higher than that, but 20% I think is the minimum threshold in which MB Haynes should be generating that service revenue to get through the times when our economy, the crane index, when new construction slows down a little bit. But one other thing I wanted to touch on is the ability to track your projects by project type, albeit, hospitals, medical offices, sports facilities, retail space, all of those things, being able to look at those jobs and strategically plan forward to say, hey, we're really successful in this vertical segment or this industry type, but we seem to not have a high enough margin on these types of jobs. When you couple the data from TopBuilder and from Spectrum, how do we want to plan? How do we want to build our strategy for the next 5 years around this, coupled with industry-specific information and forecasting and things like that? So we're taking real live data that we have that has so much more information than just the financials that allows us to plan and look ahead. So with that, Dave, I will hand it back to you and tell me if there's anything else you'd like me to discuss.
No, that was perfect. We could spend 2 hours on this, no doubt. With all the things that MB Haynes is going through, the things that they're learning, and and implementing these things. It's very exciting, but with a company of 7,000 employees, it's a lot of stuff, or 700 employees, I should say. Is it 700 or 7,000? 700, right?
It's 700 employees and 14,000 customers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we could get on the phone. I mean, we could do like a podcast, like a weekly podcast, and do these things and talk about them, because it's fun stuff. It's very exciting. But what Paige said, I'll say just one more comment, and then I'll get into the meat of this. But what Paige said about growing her service revenue, we experienced this as well with one of our customers who never really followed up after the job. And if you have CRM that's designed for construction, okay, you're going to be tracking the building owner and potentially the property management company on these jobs. So if you go out and you do a job for a general contractor, you'll have the ability to track the building owner, and then also if there's a property manager, you're tracking that. But these folks never went back and followed up on those new construction, even if they lost the job. Okay, they didn't get the job. They still could go back and get the service work after the job is completed, or maybe the second round of work. And they never did that. But now they started tracking the building owners, property managers. They market to them, and they follow up with them after the job is completed, after the bids have been awarded or submitted. And they grew their service business from basically 0 to 33% of their revenue. And that was also just with email marketing, because since they're tracking building owners, they could just pop them on an email, and they had a newsletter, and it goes out once a month. I'm going to talk to you about these things in a minute, but Paige is right. That is one of the big things that this helps you with, and that is converting those jobs to service opportunities. Okay, thank you, Paige. All right. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go through the best practices. I've broken them up essentially by the main benefits that they provide, starting with converting more of your existing opportunities to awarded jobs. Okay, so as I go through this, we're going to go through a best practice item. I'll give you some examples, and then I have some screenshots and some very specific examples and war stories that I'll cover. And I'm going to keep an eye on the watch so that we make sure we get through them all. But one of the first things that you need to be doing, if you're not doing this already, is to capture your opportunities electronically. And, you could be capturing a request for quote, request for service, a bid opportunity, any potential opportunity you have to go after a job or to bid on a job or to do service work. You should be tracking them electronically. Okay. So it's not just getting the lead that we're talking about here. We're talking about also getting critical information about the job, attaching the actual RFQ to the job, and it should be attached to the job or the opportunity in CRM. The address of the job, the primary contact of the job. You'll want to see who's the customer, potential start dates and end dates of the job, and my goodness, when is the bid due? Okay, you want this information, and you want to be able to capture this electronically. There's multiple ways of doing this because they come in from a lot of different directions. All right, but one of the ways to do it is to have a contact form on your website. I have some examples here that we put up for real customers that I'll show you in a second, but they simply have an RFQ, request a quote on their website, and they can upload documents on that. They can say, when is the bid due? What is the address of the job? Who is the contact? Request for information, request for service comes in from their website as well. Okay, so this is a very easy way of doing it, and those forms that go on your website are automatically routed into CRM. And the really cool thing about that is, and as Paige said, you're tracking the types of jobs that you're doing, new construction, service, warranty work. You can assign those leads or those opportunities based on the type of work that they're requesting. So a service work can go to your service manager, or new construction can go to your new construction manager. You get it. But there's ways of routing those opportunities to the right people when they come in. Same with having a mobile request for quote or data entry form. So folks can carry that with them. And when they're on site or in their truck or doing whatever they need to do, they can capture an opportunity right off their phone or a tablet or a laptop. Some of our customers have a customer portal. Now, a general contractor is probably not going to submit a request for quote through a portal. They'll email you most likely. But they use it primarily to capture service requests. So they log into their portal, say, I need some service. They put in the job address, information, upload pictures, and they get the lead that way. Also, within these portals, they can check on all the jobs that is going on with your company, and also potentially even pay you for it. Now, there's a lot of other ways of getting leads electronically, a lot of third-party sources that generate leads for construction. They can be builder exchanges, Construct Connect, all kinds of job boards that will offer an API. You should take those electronically so that they don't get lost. I mean, if they get lost in an email, if you don't get the email, it's gone. And also, when you're capturing them electronically, people are getting alerts, okay? So let me show you some examples. I'll talk about the alerts in a second. These are examples of a request for quote on a website, okay? That is from a real customer of ours where they're requesting quotes online, a mobile version of a form that we create for you. So we'll put a form on your mobile device. And so you can capture leads. And if you can see here, it may be a little bit hard to see. Let me see if I can get my pencil out. Down at the bottom, can't find it. They can upload specs and drawings and photos, and multiple specs and photos from the website or from a mobile device. And then we have the customer portal, and then we also have interfaces to these sources of leads, builder exchanges, Construct Connect, construction market data, things like that. Okay, so best practices number 2, alerts and reminders, very critical. I live personally off my alerts and reminders. If I don't get an alert and reminder, nothing happens. You'll also be able to get those in CRM, but having email alerts, text alerts, calendar alerts, dashboards, reports going out is very important to make sure when new leads come in that people get the proper alerts that, hey, you've got a bid opportunity, go after it. Now, these alerts should have a link to open up the lead or open up the opportunity within CRM, okay, so that they can act on that immediately. They can see who is the customer, when is the bid due. They can pull down the RFQ documents. They can see who the contact is, so on and so forth. They know when the job is supposed to start, when it's supposed to end. All these things are in that electronic opportunity that comes in. Or, quite frankly, even if they call the office and somebody at the office keys it into CRM, the person that gets assigned to that lead or that opportunity should get an alert as well. Okay? So, and also when leads are reassigned within the system. So, very important to make sure people get alerts and reminders when things need to happen. We're going to talk about that a couple times. We get them all the time. If a lead comes in from our website, I get an alert. But also our sales guy gets an alert. And I always pick up the phone and say, hey, did you get that alert? And he goes, I've already called him. You know, so it works. It is really, really effective. All right. Nothing falls through the cracks. And so here's a few examples of these alerts. This is a real email alert from TopBuilder CRM for Spectrum. You know, it has the information about the opportunity, their contact, and then again, a link to open up that opportunity in their browser or on their phone, quite frankly. What you have down here, this is, you have a bid calendar down here. I know it's a little bit hard to see, but we can, if you guys want to see a demo of this, you're welcome to request a demo and I'll show you all this. But you have a bid calendar. It shows when are all your bids due across the board for a period of time. And you can see who the job is, who's the customer, when is the bid due, what's the status, and what's the amount. You'll have dashboards with reminders on the dashboards. You know, you have 5 bids that are due, or you have a bid that's past due. Right on your dashboard. And then again, you'll have a calendar which synchronizes with your Outlook or your Gmail, whatever calendar you use, to say, hey, I've got a bid due, you know, Friday. All right, very good stuff, very important to make sure nothing falls through the cracks. Okay, also very important, define follow-up or workflow through each step of the sales and job cycle. So you get a new opportunity, you've got steps. I've got to follow up on that opportunity to hopefully get a bid request from that opportunity. You move it into a RFQ submitted status as an example. You want follow up on that to make sure you're submitting the bid on time. When the job is let's go through this in order. When the bid is submitted, you want to be able to follow up on that bid when it has been submitted. So again, nothing falls through the cracks. You can have emails that go out automatically to the customer, let's say 2 days after you submit a bid, reminding them they have a bid to respond to. You can delegate tasks. You know, you may have an office manager that when jobs are awarded, send them a thank you letter. When new RFQs come in, send the customer an email, say, we've got it, we're on it. And you can also attach kind of helpful hints with a task. You know, let's say a new RFQ comes in. Here's a checklist of items that you need to go through to make sure you get all the information to prepare the quote. And that way, you know, you don't go on site, you forget something, and then have to go back. So having follow-up and workflow through every step of the process is really important, even if you lose the job. So some of our customers, I would actually say a lot of our customers, after the job is lost, okay, because that does happen sometime, we hope it never happens, they want to follow up with the customer. So they have a follow-up plan. That follow-up plan says, I'm going to call the customer and I'm going to find out why we lost that job. But also I want to ask them for an opportunity on the next one. And if it's new construction, I want to follow up on that to make sure we get a crack at the service work. So you can see how important and powerful this is. And it may sound a little bit overwhelming because there's so much going on, but there's not. It's kind of like set it and forget it. Very common term we have around here. You set it up, and when the status moves into bid submitted, a new follow-up plan takes over. And everybody gets alerts and reminders. The right hand knows what the left hand's doing. Everything works. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, obviously we want to monitor, track, remind, and alert so nothing falls through the cracks. So reminders will go out a day before bids are due. You'll have that bid calendar. You'll have your dashboards. We've already talked about a lot of these things, but it's worth mentioning again. We want reports to show bid status, you know, what's outstanding, what's been submitted, and what are you waiting on. This is not just for the estimators or the project managers. This is for management. Management looks at these reports to say, hey, I've got all these bids going on. I can see that everything is happening. Or you might see, by the way, you have a bid that nobody's assigned to. That shows up on these reports as well. Very, very important to be tracking and monitoring and alerting and remind people all the way through the process, even after the job is done. That way, everybody knows what they're doing. Everything gets done. Nothing falls through the cracks. It's wonderful when this works this way. Again, here's some examples. Alerts and reminders you've already seen, but what we have down here is a bid status report. So here's a monthly status report on outstanding bids. Which ones are due? When are they due? Who's working on them? When is the expected start date? And Paige uses these reports, by the way. When's the expected start date? When's the expected end date? And what's the labor requirements on these jobs? We're tracking how much labor we think is necessary to complete this job, and that goes on a report. Now, you'll also want to track, of course, bids that have been submitted, jobs that have been awarded, and then also ones that have been lost, and we'll talk about that in a second. Okay. So on to number 5. If you're a specialty contractor, if you're a roofer, a plumber, electrician, we have folks that are very, very specialized. They specialize in water tanks. We have folks that specialize in security systems. Of course, tons of roofers, tons of electrical contractors, tons of plumbers, tons of mechanical contractors. And what they do is they track all their bids against the individual jobs to which they apply. Very important if you're a specialty contractor. So you have a job and 5 different general contractors have come to you and said, I want you to bid on this job. It's the same job, but you're being requested to bid on that from multiple GCs. We call this bid tracking. Now you need to track that. And that way, when you're reporting against the jobs that you have in the pipeline, and you're forecasting labor, you're forecasting revenue, you're forecasting when bids are due, you're looking at this as one job, not 5, okay? And then when you win it, the other ones are closed out with a proper status. Not that you lost it, it was just that it was awarded to you from another general contractor. And then your bid performance reports, your tracking reports, your won-loss reports all show that this was one job, not 5. And we have some folks that we just signed up that use Salesforce. And Salesforce is wonderful, but it doesn't have bid tracking. And so what they do is they put one of these jobs in and they put the general contractor on that job that is most likely in their mind the one that's going to get this job. But the reality is, another general contractor may get this job. And then once it's awarded, they change the job customer to the general contractor that was actually awarded this job, so they have the real customer on that job. But what they've lost sight of is the 4 other general contractors that submitted bids, and the fact that they did submit a bid, the fact that they weren't awarded the job, and the whole process and the history is lost because they have no way of tracking it. Anyways, I told you I was going to tell you stories, and that's just one that we had yesterday. But tracking all your bids against a job is key if you're a specialty contractor or a subcontractor. Okay? Best practices number 6. Use a proposal generation tool. No matter what it is, it may be in your estimating software or your bidding software, but being able to generate your proposals automatically from standard templates is critical to having a streamlined process, but also to avoid mistakes and also to look professional. Because if you have standard proposal templates, they're going to look good, I would assume, and then you can you have a repeatable proposal process. You can copy or duplicate your proposals. Again, back to the bid tracking, if you're submitting 5 bids for the same job, you can copy it 5 times or 4 times, change the customer, and you're done. And so you're able to streamline that bid and proposal process, make it more professional, more repeatable, and a lot quicker. And that way you're not scrambling and potentially making mistakes. All right. So here's an example. Oh, and by the way, when you send out these proposals, you're also able to track them. So here's an example of a customer who, and this is just their cover letter. The proposal part isn't necessarily on here, but you can see how it fills in the blanks from the job information, from the customer information, and from the contact at the customer. Okay? So again, we have an example of that. Now, best practices item number 7. It's really, really important to integrate CRM with your bidding software, your accounting, your ERP, Spectrum, to make sure that if you're working on bids, if bids go straight into the bidding software, you're able to capture not only the fact that there's a bid that you need to follow up on in CRM, but also what you want is the customer information and the contact information in CRM, so that when you do your marketing, when you do your sales processes, you have current and accurate customer information in CRM. That also helps when you're tying CRM to Spectrum. So the customers that go directly into Spectrum, because there's service work or new jobs that may go directly into Spectrum, you're going to have those jobs, those customers, those contacts in CRM at all times, so that when you're following up on customers, you know all the jobs that you've ever done for those customers. You know that you have a database of current customers from Spectrum, current contacts from Spectrum, jobs from Spectrum. Spectrum is awesome, but Spectrum is not CRM. And when jobs are completed in Spectrum, I'm going to emphasize this, completed in Spectrum or inactive in Spectrum, somebody in CRM needs to get an alert to say, I need to follow up on that to make sure we get the service worker. I'm going to follow up on that to make sure we get the next phase of the project or the next bidding opportunity. Okay? Very, very important to keep that pipeline full of good opportunities. And again, you're doing this and you're not spending a dime on marketing, but you're getting a pipeline full of opportunities, qualified opportunities that you get to go after. It's awesome. And that's what we get with these best practices. Okay. So, best practices number 8. And I'm going to go a little quicker because I'm afraid we're going to run out of time. But best practices number 8 is learn from what's working and what's not working. Simply put, we have reports to go back and look at bid performance by estimator, bid performance by project manager, bid performance by customer, job type, industry type. Run these reports and find out what's working, what's not. You'll see some surprises to find out, hey, I've got an estimator potentially that's not winning a lot of jobs. What's going on with that? Or a customer that may be throwing a lot of work at you but not awarding them to you. Why? Why is that? Go figure it out. And then you'll learn something and you'll be able to fix that problem, again, without spending any more money on marketing, but you'll increase your conversion rates just by going investigating why you're losing jobs. So that's wonderful, and it's also fun. All right, so let's go find out how we can get more opportunities. We've talked about this quite a bit already, but we'll go into best practices number 9. Again, we talked about following up on every step along the process, from the opportunity phase, the bidding phase, construction phase, post-construction phase, and warranty phase. So after you're done with the job, you're tracking the building owner and the property manager, and you can put them on a what we call a keep in touch campaign or a marketing campaign that goes directly to all the building owners that you've ever done work for, to make sure that you get that follow-up work, you get the service work, you get the warranty work. Or you follow up on the job after it's done. Or if you lose the job, we talked about this already, but it's very, very important to make sure you're getting high-quality leads and you're following up on them. Okay? So here's an example of a follow-up plan. When the construction job is completed, you'll have emails that automatically go out requesting a survey, maybe a review on your Facebook page or your website. You might ask for a testimonial, but certainly somebody needs to pick up the phone or follow up with them to ask for the next phase of the job or the service contract. Okay, we're getting into the fun stuff here. Now we're talking about best practices number 10. Find gaps or hidden opportunities in the data. Okay, so for example, maybe you have a customer that used to be throwing you a lot of work, a lot of new construction, and they stopped for some reason. That needs to show up on a report, and you need to go find out why. Well, maybe they're having problems, maybe they're going out of business, but maybe you screwed up a job, or maybe your bids are too high. Who knows? But you'll never know unless you call them. But you'll also never know unless it shows up on one of these reports, potentially. So here's an example of one type of report where one of your biggest customers in one of the locations may be giving you new construction, but they're not giving you any service work. Well, we've had examples of customers that have called them and they said, well, we didn't know you did service work, or we didn't know you did preventive maintenance. Okay, problem solved. But if it doesn't show up on one of these reports and becomes very apparent to you, then you may never call them, or you may just totally miss those opportunities. These reports point these things out for you. Okay? Another example, this is the one I just said, where Costco, if you look at the Costco new construction line here, you'll see that Costco back in January submitted 5 opportunities to you for new construction, and then they stopped. Why is that? Well, you can see it on this report that it happened. You won't know unless you call them or go put a salesperson on it. Again, find opportunities in the data, find the gaps, go chase them down. Again, you're not spending a dime on marketing. Okay. Now, going back to saving you time. Any CRM system, no matter what you're using, should save you time. But if you have your data in one place and you know what your pipeline looks like, you know when your jobs are supposed to start, you know when your jobs are supposed to end, you know what the bid amount was, you know what the probability of that job closing is, you can take that data and you can put it on a forecast report that I'm showing you here, and you can project your revenue over month or whatever time frame you choose, and then you have a revenue projection at your fingertips. This is the example that our customer gave us of spending 4 to 6 weeks every quarter to pull this exact report together. This report. So we solved that problem. They can now get it with a push of a button. Now they're getting a lot of data from Spectrum as well. So the revenue projections also consider not only what's in the pipeline, but what's real. What's a real job sitting in Spectrum right now? Well, as you get change orders in Spectrum and the revenue is updated from those change orders, CRM is updated from Spectrum, and then your projection reports reflect the actual revenue with the change orders in this report. It's awesome. Okay? Now, and Paige does this as well over at MB Haynes, but another way of saving a lot of time and a lot of money is projecting labor. So you can put up a labor report and say, hey, look, in April, May, June, we are expecting, 500 hours of this type of labor we need to hire, or we need to ramp up our proposal process, or maybe we need to slow down our proposal process. Regardless, if you put that on a report and see it, you're able to react. Okay? Now, the last item on the list is very important. This is a lot of stuff, and to help you set this up and implement this stuff, you should get a company in there to help you do this that understands construction and understands CRM. And I'm not suggesting to anybody you start up some big project and you spend a whole bunch of money to go hire a consulting company and spend months doing all this. This stuff is not hard, okay? It's easy to set up. It's easy to implement. If you have the right people, you can do it with a few days of setup and training, and then do some maintenance, do some checkups, maybe once a quarter, once a month, and make sure everything's working the way it should, make sure everything's set up the way it should, monitor the reports and the activity, and you'll be fine without spending a whole bunch of money to get an expensive company in here to do all this. It's not hard. You just got to get somebody that knows what they're doing, that knows construction, and that knows CRM. And your ROI on that money is huge, exponential almost. So consider that as one of the best practices. All right, so I have a couple minutes, and what I'm going to do real quick, I'm going to jump into the demo. I only have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and show you what this looks like in CRM. Okay, I need to move my screen out of the way so that I can see it. And what I've got here now is I've got the login page for TopBuilder CRM for Spectrum. Okay, now typically what would happen is I would have seen an alert. Okay, so I'm a project manager, or I'm an estimator, or I'm a salesperson. I would have gotten an alert on my phone. I would have clicked on it. It would have taken me right into TopBuilder CRM for Spectrum, and I'd be able to react to that job. But I don't have the luxury of going through that all with the time that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in, and I'm going to look at the dashboard, and I'm going to see, okay, I've got a few jobs going on. Okay, I've got my opportunities. I've got the history of my opportunities. I've got the next step of my opportunities. Again, alerts and reminders are going off to tell me what should I be doing, what shouldn't I be doing. Okay, in other words, what is not due yet. I have tasks, I have reminders on my calendar, and I have warnings to say, hey, look, I have some leads without a next step, or I've got some past due tasks. I can also go in and I can manage my opportunities, okay? And I can see all the opportunities I have. I can see it by job type, new construction. I can see history and next steps, and I can take action right from my dashboard or my list of opportunities. Now, what I can also do real quickly is I can go in and I can look at all my jobs, and I can tell it's flickering a little bit. I'm sorry for that. That's GoToMeeting. But I can see all my jobs and all the bids that are going out against that job. So I've got this one job. I think you saw this on the slides as an example. And I've got 5 bids going out. Okay. They're due roughly at the end of the month. And what I can do is I can drill down on one of those. Okay. And I can go see all the details of this job. And this will come right off an alert. So, for example, I got an alert on my cell phone as a text message. I click on it. I go right in here. Or I've got it on my email. I go right in here. I can see who the customer is. I can see when is the bid due. I can see when the expected contract date is. That allows my job forecast to say, hey, these guys have said they're going to make a decision August 15th. Okay, so that will show up on my forecast in my sales reports. I can see the details of the job. Okay, what's the address of the job? Who is the project manager? Who is the building owner? Who is the property manager? When do I expect the job to start? When do I expect the job to end? And then I have all this data on Spectrum so that I can send the job over to Spectrum and properly create the job in Spectrum. Now, if you're a Spectrum customer, you'll know that those Spectrum job templates are so invaluable when you set up a job that you can select a template and the job is automatically created in Spectrum based on that template with all the individual job phases, sales tax codes, payroll codes, all the financial information that you need on those jobs. They come right off of that template. And then you can specify if it's a work order or a job. You have your follow-up plan, or you have your next steps. You have the history. You have the notes. You have the documents and photos, and this is what's uploaded from the website. A specification, an RFQ, images potentially. And then you have all the job history for the customer and the financial history from the customer that comes right out of Spectrum. Now what you can do is you can submit a proposal. I'll do this really quickly because I'm about to run out of time. But you can build a proposal from standardized documents that you store in the system, okay? And then you can review the proposal, okay? And I see it's flickering, and I'm sorry for that. It is GoToMeeting doing that. I have a nice, beautiful proposal that's generated for the customer, and then I can email it out automatically. Okay? Now, reports, tons of them. I can go in and I can look at my sales forecast, and I can see what am I projected to get based on the type of the job and the probability. I can see the detail of that. I can see all the jobs I'm expected to get and in which month in the system. Okay? I can also run that all-important revenue forecast. So I can see for the next 6 months what projections do I have for revenue starting in July, August, September, all the way to the end of the year. Okay? I can also go in and run these very important reports on why am I winning jobs, why am I losing jobs. Okay? One loss report. We're setting this up so you can do it by division, customer, estimator, job type, project manager, and industry even. And then I can also do bid performance reports and bid status reports so that I can see in the system, okay, which reports are working, which bids are working and which are not. I can do that by estimator. I can do that by customer. I could do that by job type, all kinds of different ways. Okay, so that wraps it up. I'm going to switch back over to our slide on the presentation, and I will show you how you can reach out to us. Again, you'll be getting an email, and that concludes the webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dave. That was really great.
Thank you.